Hello and welcome to Twin Flame Psychology Series, Episode 1. Today's topic is about why twin flame separation feels like withdrawal. So if you're going through the twin flame separation, you may have noticed something very confusing. You tell yourself to move on, you try to distract yourself, and you try to even think logically, and yet the mind keeps going back to them. The memories, the connection, the feeling that something important is missing. And sometimes it can feel almost physical, like a deep ache in your chest. If that's what you're experiencing, there's something very important I want you to know. You're not weak, you're not being dramatic, you are not crazy. Your brain is just responding to a powerful emotional bond, and that is why separation can sometimes feel a little bit like withdrawal. In this video, I want to gently explain why that happens. Not in a cold, psychological, clinical way, but in a way that helps you understand what your mind and body are actually going through. Because when we understand what's happening inside us, something beautiful begins to happen. We stop fighting ourselves, and we start supporting our own healing. When we fall deeply in love, something remarkable happens inside the brain. Our nervous system begins to associate that person with safety, warmth, and emotional reward. Each time we hear their voice, and each time we share a moment, the brain releases chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. Dopamine is the brain's reward signal. It's what makes meaningful experiences feel powerful and important. Oxytocin, on the other hand, is often called the bonding hormone. It helps us feel close, connected, and emotionally safe with another person. Over time, the brain begins to weave that person into our emotional world. They become a part of our daily routine, a part of our inner landscape. And when a connection feels as intense as many people describe in the twin flame relationships, that emotional imprint can become very strong, which means the bond isn't just romantic, it becomes neurological. Now, imagine that bond suddenly changing or disappearing. For the brain, this can feel incredibly confusing because the person who once felt like emotional safety is no longer there. So the nervous system doesn't immediately understand why, so it begins searching. In fact, you might notice your mind replaying memories, thinking about conversations, and trying to understand what happened. This isn't because you're obsessed or unable to move on. It's because the attachment system in the brain is trying to make sense of a sudden loss. If this is how you're feeling right now, then you're not alone. In psychology, this response is very normal. When a deep attachment bond is disrupted, the brain temporarily goes into a state of heightened awareness. And it's trying to restore balance, trying to reconnect with something that once felt very important. And that process can feel incredibly intense. So why does it feel like withdrawal? Well, that's because the brain had associated that person with emotional reward. So their absence creates emotional emptiness. The dopamine patterns that once fired up when you interacted with your twin flame are suddenly quiet, and the nervous system notices this change. And that's why a lot of people in separation describe feelings of restlessness and having waves of sadness, or feeling like their mind keeps returning to the connection even when they wish it wouldn't. In many ways, the brain is just simply adjusting to the loss of something that it had learned to depend on, if you like, emotionally. And adjustment, of course, takes time. And it's not because you're weak, it's because you're human, and because love is the most powerful of all emotions. One of the hardest things about the twin flame separation is that logic doesn't quiet the feelings. You can understand that the relationship has changed. You can tell yourself that it's time to move on, but the brain, the emotional brain, moves at a different pace. And healing doesn't happen through forcing yourself to stop feeling. It happens through gentle regulation, through giving your nervous system time to calm down, and by slowly bringing your attention back to yourself, to your life, and to your own sense of safety. As the nervous system settles, something very natural begins to happen. The mind slowly stops searching, and then, as a consequence, the emotions soften. And then the connection starts to take its place as a meaningful chapter in your life rather than something that controls it. If you're going through the twin flame separation right now, please remember this. What you're feeling is not a failure. It's just a reflection of how deeply your heart is capable of connecting. And the same mind that formed that powerful bond is also capable of healing, growing, and finding balance, very gradually on its own. In the next video in this series, we're going to explore another question many people ask during separation, and that is why the twin flame connection often seems to awaken emotional wounds that existed long before the relationship ever started, and how understanding that process can actually become the beginning of deep healing. If you want to know more, if you're suffering from anxiety, or if you want to know more, I offer a free 7-day calm reset on my website. If you're going through the twin flame journey, you're not alone. I've been there where you are, and I know how tough it can be. So please be gentle with yourself. This experience can stir up very, very deep emotions, and sometimes having the right tools can make the process a little easier. I created these tools because I didn't have anything when I went through mine. If you feel you need extra support, I've created a twin flame reset bundle that can help calm the nervous system and bring your focus back to yourself. You'll find the link in the description. And if you're interested in learning about deeper psychology that applies to these types of connections, then you might want to check out my V2V method. There are books available on Amazon and on my website. The link is in the description for both. Until next time, please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.